G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here with a mad scientist video. This time concerning the cost of grid connected electricity, which in my case is not an option, owing to the distance between the telephone pole at my front gate and the nearest rural power connection at my neighbour's house, a kilometre away, at one power pole per 100 metres, $2,800 a pole 27 years ago. Add $1,000 to that, allowing for inflation, it would cost nearly $40,000 to connect to the grid. Therefore, I have elected to be able to make my own electricity and store it in batteries with a solar charge controller. And under their rain covers, we have two inverters, a self-starting 300 watt inverter feeding across to my palatial mansion on the edge of the clearing. The other requiring switching on manually, feeds up to 300 watts across to the machinery shed to run light power tools. And when the sun fails to shine for more than 3 days, then to turn the 240 volts alternating current into 12 volts, we have a 10 amp battery charger feeding four 6 volt 225 amp hour golf cart batteries, which when new retail for $239 each. $80 for an inverter, $212 for a battery charger, $180 for a better inverter with a self-start circuit. They don't make these anymore, so you might have to pay $300. $450 for a 2 kVA generator. Times change, prices change. 18 years ago when I bought it, that top center panel was $330. 10 years ago when I bought them, the top two outer panels were $300. They're all 30 watt panels, so that's $900 in the top row. The bottom panel, 70 watts, $132 retail this week. I think I paid about $140 for it a couple of years ago, so prices have kind of sort of stabilised after a big drop. Technically, that's the equivalent of a 160 watt panel, which today in the shops would cost you $260, even though I paid over $1,000 for it. Being on a hand cobbled tower, giving 135 degrees of daily tracking available, plus 46 degrees of available seasonal tracking with the car jack built in and the handmade screw jack, all that results in the panels producing 35% more current per day than if they were fixed permanently to a frame on the roof of the hut. So I've convinced 160 watts of array to perform like 200 watts of array, and at today's prices, an extra $60 worth of panels in a fixed position would make the whole tower obsolete, which could be considered a bit disappointing if it were not for the fact that as things stand, if there's a hailstorm coming from over there, I can put my panels edge on to the threat anywhere in the sky, thus avoiding this effect and the accompanying delay and inconvenience attached thereunto. So as you can see, this setup sort of grew like topsy, and if I was starting from scratch, I'd probably have 6 of those batteries and a pair of 160 watt panels. So if someone was to be reproducing this without the tower, just putting the panels on the roof of their house, they'd be looking at $2,600, and they would have achieved a third of a kilowatt hour per day, because that's how much power I use, and I can go 3 or 4 days without having a full sunny day to recharge. Okay, it works out to $8,400 per kilowatt hour. Now let's see, what would it cost me if by some magic I had an electrical grid connection available at my front gate. If I could buy grid power here for the same prices that people pay in town for their grid power, how much money is this thing saving me? And while an alligator was employed in the making of this video, rest assured, not a single slide rule was damaged in the making of this video. Isn't that reassuring? Right, so let's get into it. Recently, I got to have a bit of a look at a recent Origin energy bill for a 56-day period for my daughter's flat in town, where they charged her for 82 kilowatt hours of peak load, for which they charged her 28.47 cents per kilowatt hour. So $23.35 for the current. There's also a supply charge of $1.41 per day connected to the grid. So over 56 days she paid $65.53 in order to be able to buy $23.35 worth of electricity. So she didn't get 82 kilowatt hours at 28.47 cents each, as they like to claim, because it costs $516 per year to stay connected to the grid. Belay that. I had the wrong graphic. My daughter was using 45 kilowatt hours per month, 1.464 kilowatt hours per day. She was actually paying 41.69 cents a day, or $152 a year for the electricity, but she was paying $516 a day to stay connected to their grid. Total cost $668.27, which gives a unit price per kilowatt hour of $1.24.91. Almost $1 per kilowatt hour more than they pretend to be charging for the electricity. And I'm sure those of you with sharp eyes will have noticed that I'm not including in any of these calculations how much money my daughter buys or pays for her off-peak electricity, because she used about 460 kilowatt hours of electricity just heating water in the middle of the night. I use gas or firewood when I want to get water to become hot. So we're only comparing what they call peak load, that which can be plugged in and switched on and switched off. Peak load, of which I use here 120 kilowatt hours per year, 10 kilowatt hours a month. Right, now we come back to that graphic which was inadvertently displayed earlier. This is the cost breakdown for your 120 kilowatt hours of grid power per year. $34.16 worth of electricity in the whole year, 9.49 cents a day for the electricity. But they're going to charge $4.30 per kilowatt hour, $516 a year, grand total $550 per year. And the actual cost per kilowatt hour, $4.58.47 cents. So there we have the answer to the hypothetical question, how much grid power does my solar system save? $550 worth a year. Because that's what Origin Energy would charge me for the 120 kilowatt hours per year that I actually use. $550. $4.50 per kilowatt hour. Okay, so down here at the teeny tiny end of the scale, $2,600 worth of components saves $550. The panels are guaranteed for 20 years. The batteries have a 10-year half-life to failure. So what that means is that you are going to have to replace the batteries every 10 to 20 years, and you're going to have to replace the panels every 15 to 20 years. So to make the math scratch your head mathematics a bit easier, to allow for the fact that sometimes batteries fail after 10 years, and after 20 years your solar panels are only putting out 60% of their original rated current. So let's just say you replace the batteries and you replace the panels every 15 years. And that way you can do some calculations, put it all into practice, get some perspective on it. Here we go. Your 10 kilowatt hour per month system, standalone. Panels, either 470 watt, 12 volt, $132 each, $528, or two 160 watt, 12 volt, $260 each, $520. Take your pick, good for 20 years. Your batteries, 6 225 amp hour, 12 volt, 239 each, at 1,134, 10-year half-life to failure. That would permit me to go 6 rainy days in a row without having to start the generator. At the moment I can only go 3 because I've only got 4 batteries. Charge controller, 30 amp, $130. Inverter, I've allowed $300 so you can get a good one. Primary total, $1,934. And if you're prepared to bet that you're never going to get 7 days of rain in a row, you can do it with that. But let's say we're going to go the belt and braces approach. Add $450 for a backup generator, plus your battery charger, $200. As advertised, $2,609 for your 10 kilowatt hour per month system. Fuel use, 10 weeks, nil. For your first 15 years, amortising the cost of the entire setup, $1.63 per kilowatt hour. Second 15 years, after you've put new panels and new batteries on it, $1.03.3 per kilowatt hour, compared to $4.58.47 per kilowatt hour if I was buying it from Origin Energy, connected to the grid, because it's so cheap at only 28.47 cents per kilowatt hour. They like to pretend. However, they tell me that not everybody is happy living on 1 kilowatt hour every 3 days. My daughter was living in town and she was using 1.46 kilowatt hours per day of peak load, which is actually less than my little old 82-year-old mother uses on her 57-acre block with her standalone system in her house, because she uses 2.1 kilowatt hours a day with a standalone solar system. So let's have a look at her figures and compare them to mine and my daughter's. And of course my mother had the same problem with connection I had, only the quote to connect her place to the grid was $45,000, and that was 18 years ago. So there's reasons for her being off-grid, just like there's reasons for me being off-grid. But there's reasons why I know that she uses 2 kilowatt hours per day, because I'm the bloke who goes over there to start her generator when she needs it running. So 2.1 kilowatt hours a day is 62 kilowatt hours a month, which is 750 kilowatt hours per year. So if the old girl was connected to the grid, then Origin Energy would be charging her 59.78 cents per day, and it would cost her $734.34.6, 97.91 cents per kilowatt hour. If you want to use 62 kilowatt hours a month, 750 kilowatt hours a year. And the old girl system, 10 200 watt panels, 3,250. 8,000 amp hours worth of batteries, $8,604. Replacement cost $11,854. $780 for a charge controller, $3,000 for an inverter, $15,634 for your basic setup. Add $600 for a backup generator, $1,500 extra for a battery charger, $17,734 to set it up, Last 10 weeks, 0 fuel use. First 15 years, $1.47.9 a kilowatt hour, which is 51% more than grid power. Second 15 years, $1.04.2, which is 7.62% more expensive than grid power at that location using that much electricity. Petrol generator without batteries, with batteries, 10 kilowatt solar system, 62 kilowatt solar system. The crossover point is 1 kilowatt hour per day. And whereas my mother's system pays for itself every 16 years in bills saved, mine takes 4. Ciao.